Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
So we started discussing the second verse, the next introduction, where Rupa Goswami describes the 6 things that destroy bhakti. And getting like taking most of all the
Here, Ratnal?
No, here.
Thank you. Okay, and what else we discussed? Last class. Yes.
So second one is over endeavoring for mundane things that are difficult to obtain.
Right.
Are we taking one by one?
No, I mean whatever you remember from the last class. We discussed 3 Shaktis of Krishna. We discussed 3 Shaktis of Krishna. What are those?
Antaranga, Bahiranga, and
What are those?
So
One.
Bahiranga Shakti is Krishna's external energy.
Right.
Antaranga Shakti is his internal.
Right.
Tatashta is his marginal energy.
Right. You know, Tatastha word comes from the root word Tatha. So Tatha, you know, it's like the banks, right? What it means. So Tat, right? Kisi nadi ke tat pe. That's what Tat is. So there is an example actually. So if you see a beach, you see sand, and then you see water, tides coming towards the beach. So sometimes the sand is wet, sometimes the sand is dry. So sand is like that only, Tatastha Shakti. Sometimes it is in contact with material nature, which is the water. Sometimes it is in natural condition, which is dry. So that's the example given. Okay, what else do you remember?
Description of Mahatma and Duratma.
Yes. What is Mahatma?
Mahatma, who is someone who is broad-minded and who has surrendered to Krishna.
Right.
Duratma is who is like crippled-minded and his body is conscious.
Right. Okay, got it. So I think we can continue further from this class. Collecting and eating more than necessary. You want to start first?
Collecting and eating more than necessary also causes prayasa, or unnecessary endeavor. By God's arrangement, anyone in any part of the world can live very peacefully if he has some land and a milk cow. There is no need for man to move from one place to another to earn a livelihood, for one can produce food grains locally and get milk from cows. That can solve all economic problems. Fortunately, man has been given higher intelligence for the cultivation of Krishna consciousness, or the understanding of God, one's relationship with Him, and the ultimate goal of life, love of God. Unfortunately, so-called civilized man, not caring for God realization, utilizes his intelligence for getting more than necessary and simply eating to satisfy the tongue.
Right. So, if you read this example, Prabhupada is saying that we should have a simple living and high thinking, and that's what Prabhupada has recommended to most of the devotees, that have a farm land, cultivate your produce there locally, maintain your cows, and you'll be satisfied, you'll be happy in your life. Because Prabhupada predicted this way back that things will be in scarcity going forward. And that's why you see when people are moving from their birthplace to another place, like when people are moving from villages to towns, that's what happens. They again look for produce for villages only to get their produces, and that's why you see because you have to get produce from villages, you need transport vehicles to bring it from village to city, and for those trucks to be maintained, you need gas, you need metals like iron, aluminium, right? And that's why those factories are there which are producing such metals. There are all manufacturing companies who are providing that to these companies, and then there are pollution happening because of that. And that's why you'll see there is a whole vicious cycle of why just by moving from village to your city, you're actually creating so many industries which are not even required. You're just adding to all those industries just by your one choice of moving from villages to towns to cities. And you must have seen in India, like way back 20, 30 years ago, India, 75% of the Indians lived in villages. Now the ratio has gone down. It's only 45%. So things have changed. Again, because of material advancement, because of Kali Yuga, which is progressing, things are changing. And that's why Prabhupada is mentioning that we should come back to our simple living, high thinking formula, because that is what will be sustained throughout, will be a sustainable solution for us in long term. Please continue, Prabhu.
By God's arrangement, there is sufficient scope for the production of milk and grains for human beings all over the world. But instead of using his higher intelligence to cultivate God consciousness, so-called intelligent men misuse their intelligence to produce many unnecessary and unwanted things. Thus factories, slaughterhouses, brothels, and liquor shops are opened. If people are advised not to collect too many goods, eat too much, or work unnecessarily to possess artificial amenities, they think that they are being advised to return to a primitive way of life. Generally, people do not like to accept plain living and high thinking. That is their unfortunate position.
Right. So here you will see that there is another example which comes to my mind, which is from Mahabharata. So Duryodhana was so greedy in his endeavors that even when Krishna went, just to have a talk with him, to give at least 5 villages to the Pandavas so that they can actually loot their Swadharma by living as a king, Duryodhana rejected that proposal. Why? Because of greed, because of atyahar, right? So that's what happens. Like when you become too greedy, we do atyahar and then we do prayas. So all these are interlinked, these 6 qualities which Srila Rupa Goswami is mentioning here. And just remember this, just focus on these 2 words, atyahar and prayasas. Prabhupada is using these 2 words again and again in this purport, throughout the purport. I'll ask you your realization once we complete this entire purport. What Prabhupada is trying to mention here and how these 2 words are linked with the entire purport. Okay. Would you like to read, Maharaj?
Human life is meant for God realization, and the human being is given higher intelligence for this purpose. Those who believe that this higher intelligence is meant to attain a higher state should follow the instructions of the Vedic literatures. By taking such instructions from higher authorities, one can actually become situated in perfect knowledge and give real meaning to life. In Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.9, Sri Sutta Goswami describes the proper human dharma in this way. Dharmasya hiyapavargasya
Kalpate Marthasya Dharma Kantasya Kamo Labhaya Smritita.
All occupational engagement, dharma, are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service, dharma, should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification.
We can pause here. So here if you see, Prabhupada is highlighting the importance of Swadharma, like dharma. So if you see that in Vedic scriptures, in our tradition times, we used to, there was a 4 division of like Varna and then 4 divisions of ashram. There was a purpose for that. Because if you are following your Swadharma, which is either you are a Brahmana or a Vaishya or a Kshatriya or a Shudra, you are satisfied in your content in your life. Otherwise, people, you must have seen that people, they are doing what they are doing, but they are not happy with what they are doing. They are not following the passion, and that's why you must have heard and read about this. Like people are going back to their, following their passion, right? Even in your studies also you must have seen, even in job also you must have seen that. People are going back to their original, like their, what's my true calling, right? So that's what Prabhupada is mentioning, that that's what these 4 divisions were there in the society. But just above that 4 division, there is another higher principle, which is our true nature, which Prabhupada is mentioned further. What is our true nature as a living entity? So we'll read further from that.
The first step in human civilization consists of occupational engagements injunctions. The higher intelligence of a human being should be trained to understand basic dharma. In human society, there are various religious conceptions characterized as Hindu, Christian, Hebrew, Mohammedan, Buddhist, and so on. For without religion, human society is no better than animal society.
Right, so that's the difference between us humans and animals. That if we have an higher intelligence and if we don't use our higher intelligence, we are no better than. And if you see, there is a common activities between humans and animals, which is eating, meeting, sleeping, and defending. That's what humans are also doing, animals are also doing. The only difference is we have higher intelligence and we can utilize that in the service of Krishna. Continue. Do you want to continue with this?
Yes. As stated above, dharmasya yapavartasya religion is meant for attaining emancipation, not for getting bread. Sometimes human society manufactures a system of so-called religion aimed at material advancement, but that is far from the purpose of true dharma. Religion entails understanding the laws of God, because the proper execution of these laws ultimately lead one out of material entanglement. That is the true purpose of religion. Unfortunately, people accept religion for material prosperity because of atyahara, or an excessive desire of such prosperity. True religion, however, instructs people to be satisfied with the bare necessities of life while cultivating Krishna consciousness. Even though we require economic development, true religion allows it only for supplying the bare necessities of material existence. Jivasya tattva jignasa. The real purpose of life is to inquire about the absolute truth. If our endeavor, prayasa, is not to inquire about the absolute truth, we will simply increase our endeavor to satisfy our artificial needs. A spiritualist then should avoid mundane endeavor.
We can pause there. So what is the opposite of atyahar? Atyahar? What is an opposite of, the opposite meaning of atyahar? Yeah, it's yuktahar. So Krishna says in Gita 6.16, yuktahara viharasya, yukta chetasya karmashu, yukta swapna vabodhasya, yoga bhavati dukkhaha. So what Krishna is trying to say is that yuktahar means regulated. So one should eating, our eating should be regulated, our working, whatever work we are doing, our activity should be regulated, our recreation should be regulated, and our sleeping should be regulated. If these four things are regulated, we can reduce our material miseries, because material misery will be there, no doubt about it. But we can reduce that by following a regulated way of life. And if we don't do yuktahar, what happens? We suffer kleshada. Right? Klesha will increase in our life. If dukkha is not decreasing, kleshas will increase. Right? So that's what Krishna is saying here. And so I'll share one analogy actually. So there is this, I was listening to this class, and when this Prabhu was mentioning that how a material world is, he was comparing material world to a prison. Now if you see, a prison has 5 characteristics. Can you think of any one of them?
It's closed.
Right, no freedom.
Yeah, no.
Right. You?
He's like a person that watches over everything. Like
No freedom. Yeah. Anybody?
There's rules and punishments.
Right. Right.
Regulations.
Sorry?
Regulations.
Right. What else?
Necessities are given.
Right. Okay. So there are 5 qualities which are mentioned. One is the freedom is not there, as you mentioned. There is no freedom. You can't do whatever you like to do. Right. Second is the facilities which are being given to you can be taken away any moment. For example, if you are a son of a politician, or if you are a son of a very rich person, you can pay money, you can bribe the guards, and you can get whatever facilities you want, right, for yourself. But those facilities are temporary. It can be taken away any moment of time. Whenever government changes, or the prison superintendent changes, facilities can be changed, right? Third is the person has to break stones, the prisoners. I mean, they have to work day and night just to be in that, because they are in the prison, they have to work. And they have to work, I mean, they don't have they don't feel like doing that work, but still they have to do it, right? Fourth is that people around them, around you, they are not gentlemen. So you are surrounded by people who are willing to kill you or willing to, fight with you any moment of the time. And lastly, you are separated from your family, right? So if you see, this metaphor is given, it's similar to the material world, right? We are away from our original family, which is spiritual world. Facilities can be taken away any moment of time. It's unpredictable. Like whenever, because of these kleshas, adi devik, adi bhautik, things can change for us. We have to work continuously just to satisfy the needs of the body, of the family. People around us are not gentlemen, except for devotees. But we find very few devotees in this world, right? And I think we have covered 5 points. Yeah, so it's similar to the material world, the prison house. So this is, if you see this Bhairanga Shakti, the external potency of Krishna, it makes us suffer by the 3 modes of material nature: Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. But Prabhupada has mentioned that out of these 3 gunas, Sattva is better. Why? Because Sattva can actually promote you towards Shuddha Sattva stage. But at least you have to come to that Sattva stage, right? And if you see Prabhupada, when initial days he was dealing with hippies, he was dealing with drug addicts. They were all in the tamas guna. But Prabhupada gave them a life, changed their mentality, changed their perception, gave them a better lifestyle by giving them Krishna consciousness. So immediately they were raised to Sattva gun. And now they are coming to Shuddha Sattva level, right? So that's what it is. Even scriptures, if you see, they talk about levels. Like you cannot directly jump from tamas to sattva. You have to go through rajas and then sattva. But here Srila Prabhupada, the one important quality of Prabhupada is he actually gave us Shuddha Sattva, which is the bhakti of Krishna, without any of our qualification. He didn't see whether the person is in tamas or rajas or sattva. He gave us Shuddha Sattva, like bhakti to everybody, without discriminating between us. So, would you want to read, Prabhu?
Another impediment is prajalpa, unnecessary talking. When we mix with a few friends, we immediately begin unnecessary talking, sounding just like croaking toads. If we must walk, we should talk about the Krishna consciousness movement. Those outside of the Krishna consciousness movement are interested in reading heaps of newspapers, magazines and novels, solving crossword puzzles and doing many other nonsensical things. In this fashion, people simply waste their valuable time and energy. In the Western countries, old men retired from active life play cards, fish, watch television and debate about useless socio-political schemes. All these and other frivolous activities are included in the prajalpa category. Intelligent persons interested in Krishna consciousness should never take part in such activities.
We can pause there. So, what do you think of this? What Prabhupada is trying to say? Any comments? Or any experience you want to share from this statement, from this paragraph? Prajalpa. Yes, please, Prabhu.
So I think it was the day of Vyas Puja where I was listening to this lecture by His Kirti Prabhu,
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking about the same stuff that Prabhupada in one of his lectures he mentioned, that actually these gossips, this prajalpa, can actually destroy our bhakti. He never said it can cover our bhakti, it can just stop our bhakti. He said it can destroy your devotion life.
Right. Right. But how does it destroy it? Have you thought about it? Yes.
When you gossip or like when you prajalpa, there's a high chance that you can end up offending another
Right.
devotee.
Right. Because when you do gossip, when you actually talk about others, I mean, in your mind, in your consciousness, you are only thinking about that person because you're talking about that person day and night. You're talking about what that person did with me. How can that person behave with me like that, right? So in your consciousness is that person and not Krishna. So eventually what will happen is, and when you see that person next time, you'll start blaspheming him. Like how Daksha Prajapati did to Lord Shiva. He blasphemed him. And that's the level of Prajalpa. It starts with talking, it goes up to argument, then debate, and then the highest level is blasphemy, which is the worst form of Prajalpa. Right? So any questions on this? Yes, Mataji.
So when people talk about blaspheming a devotee, could you give us like an example? In what situation?
So blasphemy is when you actually criticize that devotee openly, and then when you actually offend that devotee knowingly and unknowingly. So it's like you're saying bad about that devotee to everybody, and in front of that devotee also you're blaspheming him. That's a blasphemy actually. You have taken your prajalpa to another level. You're trying to actually see prajalpa is when you're talking somebody's behind somebody's back. Right? That is still at you're just trying to gossiping, you're backbiting, right? But when you do something in front of that person, you actually abuse that person publicly or personally. But you're doing it in front of the person, abusing him. That is blasphemy, because that is not appropriate, because there are higher chances that you may offend that devotee. Even if that devotee may not get offended, but Krishna will get offended because of that. And there are various examples in the scriptures because of that. So there is an example of how Durvasa, he offended Prithu Maharaj, right? Amrish Maharaj. So, and Durvasa blasphemed Lord Shiva. So there are many examples in the scriptures which are even of blasphemy, right? Yes, Prabhu.
So can you give an example of doing prajalpa and stating facts? Like if some devotee did something wrong or something bad, and you need to raise a point against them or
Right.
do something.
So yes, I remember this from my experience with my Gurudev, Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj. So he shared this example. I mean, this is something a devotee shared this about Maharaj, that in earlier days in 1990s and when the Chowpatty temple was new. So that time this devotee went to Maharaj and he was like complaining about other devotee, like, Maharaj, he did this with me, he's behaving like this, he's not following the rules, he's not listening to me, he's just like, he's just arguing with me day and night. Whenever I talk to him, he just argues with me. So what Maharaj did was, he actually started glorifying that devotee, whom that devotee was complaining against. And then the devotees realized, okay, this devotee has so many good qualities. I'm only seeing the bad in this devotee. Whereas I should be looking at good qualities also. And I should ignore the bad qualities, because not everybody is a perfect human being. I mean, even as a devotees, we are sadhak. We are a student in this ISKCON university. We are not a perfect human being. We are not pure devotee. We are here to learn something. Right? So till that time our learning is there, we will make mistakes. We will commit offenses. We will do prajalpa. But our aspiration should be to come at a stage where our prajalpa is reduced. I'm not saying it will be gone in a day or in years. It will take many years maybe to reduce it and bring it to a level where you're only talking about Krishna. Because when you observe the senior Vaishnavas in this movement, in the ISKCON movement, you'll realize, just be around them and try listening to what they talk. Because just by observing to them, you will realize, okay, they are only talking about Krishna. Or whatever they are talking, whatever stories they are sharing, either is directly connected to Krishna or indirectly connected to Krishna. Like how in their life Krishna played a part, or other devotees played a part. That's what they are discussing. So the Prabhupada he's trying to say is that we should try to minimize our prajalpa. We should talk only about Krishna conscious things. And earlier stages, because since we are still new, at this stage, we'll still talk about other things. We'll still talk about, like, as Prabhupada mentioned, that we'll talk about newspaper articles, we'll talk about news which is happening. People are talking about immigration policies that are changing, right? We will talk about it because that's how we are conditioned right now. But our aspiration should be to come to a stage where we reduce such topics of discussion when we are with devotees. Because we should understand that when we are with devotees, we are in that environment, we should be in that consciousness that we are only talking about Krishna. Or either we are talking about Krishna or we are listening about Krishna from that devotee. Right? So we should not talk behind anybody's back. If we have a problem with any devotee, talk to them face to face. Communicate. And that is the best thing that we can do. Communicate with someone. Suppose if I have a problem with you, Prabhu, I'll talk to you directly. And that is the best way to resolve your conflict. And that's what our Shastras also say. That Prajalpa is bad because it actually affects your consciousness to that extent that we forget Krishna and we keep that person in the center of our life whom we are thinking about. Right? So if we have a problem with somebody, if we have complaints about somebody, talk to that person directly. And if you feel that it's too much for me to take, it's too much of a mental health issue for me to handle, share it with your mentor, share it with your seniors. Maybe not in a way that you're complaining about the devotee. Share it in a way that you want to share and just bring it out. Don't keep it in your heart. And sometimes we just have to tolerate, because there are things which we cannot change of this material world. So we just have to tolerate. And that's why Krishna also says, Matra sparsastu kaunteya sitoshna sukha dukkhada agama payino nityas tams titikshava bharata. So Krishna is emphasizing this fact only, that this changing of season from summer to winter, from winter to summer will keep on happening in this world. But Arjuna, you should tolerate. That is the meaning of the word titikshava, means tolerate. So whatever is happening, tolerate. Sometimes you may not be able to handle it at an emotional level. Share it with your seniors or with your friends, but don't share it in a way that you are complaining about that person. Share your personal grief that you are dealing with. Right? And any questions? Because if you see, arguments can actually make our heart hard-hearted. You had some question?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, bro.
How do we discriminate on when to tolerate and when to bring it up to the superiors or when to ignore it?
So that's a good question actually. So usually when you think, there are certain things which you cannot change. Which has become a regular issue for you, right, for a long period of time. That time that you're not able to tolerate, you're not able to handle it. That time you discuss with superior. Okay, this is something that I'm not able to handle. Tell me what can I do. And something which you think is it's a one-off situation. Like for example, if a devotee ignored your calls, and people can get offended because of that also. Like, how can this person ignore my call? He's not responding to my messages. This person is not commenting on my Facebook post. He's not liking on my Instagram post. This can happen, right? Especially in your generation, I've seen people are affected by social media so easily that we actually validate our existence in this world based on the likes that we are getting, the comments that we are getting on our post. And if somebody is not responding to our WhatsApp status, it's a big thing, yaar. How can that person not respond? So, these are one-off situations. Not every time it may happen. Sometimes people will not behave as per your expectation because they have their own personality. And we shouldn't expect others to change for us. Right? So that's what even Shastra is teaching us. That there are 4 kinds of people: Brahmana, Vaishya, Shudra and Kshatriyas. So they will have a certain nature. You cannot expect a Brahmana to fight with Kshatriya. He will never fight because that's not in his nature. You cannot expect a Shudra to study or learn Bhagavatam because that's not his nature. His nature is to do hard work. And that's what scriptures are telling us to do. That we do Prajalpa because we are so affected by small things that are happening in our life. We ignore the bigger picture. Right? For example, if you have a best friend and that best friend has been with you for the past 10, 20 years now, right? Now, if someday that best friend doesn't invite you for your wedding, for her or his wedding, you feel bad. But it doesn't mean that you'll just take offense to it, and will stick to just hold on to that grudge. Why that person didn't invite me? Because that may be a one-off situation. Something must have happened. We should always try to give benefit of doubt to people whenever we can, because we don't know what's happening, like what that person must be going through in his life, in his or her life, right? So yeah. Any other? Yes, Prabhu.
Sometimes you are in a situation where you have to listen to somebody else's problem, and he might be facing difficulty with some devotee, and for the betterment of some project, you have to listen to the Prajalpa to okay, I'm finding it hard to deal with this devotee. So what should be the right move over there?
See, when you have to also understand the relationship that we had with the devotee. If you think you can honestly tell the devotee, I'm not able to handle your issues well because it is personally affecting my consciousness, right? Then tell the devotee honestly, and tell him or her that maybe you can discuss this with your senior or superior, because it happens with everybody. We may not be able to listen to everybody's problems, those who are a close one also, because we think that either we are not qualified or we are not strong enough in our sadhana to handle that level of problems. Like people go through many problems. Some people may go through financial problems. Some people may go through relationship problems. And those are difficult to handle. Because if you don't have any experience dealing with that problem, how can you help others? Right? If you never had any financial problem in the past, how can you give solution to somebody who is facing a financial problem? Unless you know a better solution for that problem, or you have heard it from someone. Right? So that's what it is true. Maybe if you can handle it. If you can't, maybe share it with that person. Tell him honestly that you cannot handle his problem. Maybe he can discuss with someone else if it's taking too much on your mental health. Because ultimately you have to give priority to your mental health, because that is what will keep your sadhana, will survive your sadhana, will keep your sadhana going. Right? Yeah. Any other questions? Yes, Mataji.
So, if, for example, something happened with me and I just need to share to this one person, because I just want to get it out of my system.
Right.
And then I'm not trying to exactly blaspheme anyone, but I'm just trying to get the situation out so that I'm able to get their point of view on the situation as well.
Right.
Maybe I'm not comfortable enough to talk about it with my mentor. Or maybe, it's just not okay to share it with a superior just yet. Is it okay to talk to that person in that case?
See, then you have to give caution, right? Warning to that person whom you are sharing it. See, I'm just sharing it with you because I want to bring it out of my system. I'm not expecting an answer from you. I'm not expecting that your solution will help me, or you will give me a solution in the first place. I'm just sharing because I want to bring it out. Now that person, however that person is, if he or she is able to take it, it's well and good. If he's not, then I think he will need another person to share this with. Because if you see, in North America, that's what is happening. Every other therapist is actually going to another therapist for his therapy. That is the situation right now. Like I think every 10 or 100 consultations, 100 therapies, they are actually visiting another therapist for their own therapy. Because people are not able to take it. Why? Because, see, unless we do sadhana, which is very strong, like morning sadhana, 16 rounds every day in the morning, following the 4 regular principles, doing deity worship. If not, at least have a darshan of deities in the morning. Read something from the scriptures every day, half an hour at least. If you are doing this on a daily basis, in the morning itself, then we are prepared for the war, which is going to come in the day. Because we are like warriors. Like how warriors prepare. There is a famous phrase also that if you sweat during your training, you don't have to spill your blood during your war. So spend as much as time as you can during your training period, because that will help you survive through the day. And every day, it's a daily process. Yes, bro.
So, just like I want to continue on the things she mentioned. There are certain things that will happen with you during your peace time or sometime when you are, expecting something
Right.
good thing to happen, because and maybe next hour is the hour you have to pray, meditate, like do all those stuff, bhajan, and when you try to do that at that time, like let's suppose it's 10 o'clock, something happened with me, and then 10:30 I want to go to meditate, like that's my prayer time.
Right.
So at that time I wouldn't be able to concentrate. So
I know it's not easy.
and then
It's
there
not
is
easy.
nothing you
It's
could
not
like,
easy. I remember this. There was this incident happened in. Again, I will give some examples from India because I was born and brought up there and spent most of my life there. So I remember there was this plane crash which happened in Nepal, wherein 6 devotees from Chapati temple they died in that plane crash, and devotees here like in Mumbai, they were not able to handle that situation well. Even devotees like the devotee mothers whose kids who lost their kids, they were not able to handle it, and they were actually blaming the brahmacharis. "Okay, because of you my kids died, because of you." They were blaming them, and brahmacharis understood that it's their emotion that they're pouring out, and during this situation you're not able to do anything. You're not able to do your sadhana, you're not able to focus on your sadhana in the first place, you're not able to do anything with respect to your spiritual practices. But that is the time that seek association of devotees, because on your own you cannot handle this situation. You have to take association of devotees, because a devotee can uplift your emotions. So when you are having this issue, try and associate with devotees. Either serve with them, or do kirtan with them, or read with them. Because when you do it with them, although won't go away from your mind, whatever thoughts are running in your mind, but just by being in that association, doing whatever is being done in that association, eventually you will overcome that. And I have experienced this in my personal life also. Whenever I'm upset or I'm going through a low phase in my life, whenever I associate with devotees, that time I do some reading or kirtan or whatever, what happens is, even initially I'm still thinking about that issue that is going on in my head, but eventually just by something will struck me. I have seen that, and some statement from Prabhupada's purport or some words will struck and stay with me. Okay, this is a solution to my problem that I'm going through, and this has happened. And maybe I was actually in one yatra. I'll share one example. I was in a yatra, Kartik yatra, in Vrindavan, and I was going through I was actually offended by one devotee's behavior that time, and I felt I should discuss this. I should share it with somebody. And then I was listening to one class of one brahmachari, and he was talking on this matter only, this subject matter which was affecting my heart. And I realized I got my answers just by listening to him. So I told him, before the class started, I told him I'll come and talk to you because I have something to share. And after the class, I realized I don't need to talk to him because I got my answers. And eventually, when he caught hold of me, okay, batao, what is the problem? So I told him, Prabhu, I got my answers in your class. So that's how it happens. When you're going through something in your life, you may not be able to handle it alone. And that's okay. That's natural, because we are ultimately human beings. We are still sadhakas, we are still students. Take help. Take help for devotees. Because when you just catch hold of them, they will ensure that you come out from that situation. You come out from that emotions. Did I answer you, Prabhu?
not exactly.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I understand.
Want to offend you.
No.
But there are small things that happen, but you can't discuss everything with your mentor or your seniors. Like something, in your house, you're living with someone, something with your teacher, something with your colleague, or something. And that thing you cannot take it so easily. You can't
Right.
deny it. And even like as you mentioned, you would start reading, but that reading won't be fruitful. Like fruitful, I don't mean to say fruitful in the sense
You'll
I
not be able
want
to
I'm
concentrate.
expecting something.
You'll not be able to concentrate, right? That's what you're saying.
Like,
That happens.
You wouldn't understand even what is written over there. You wouldn't be able to, like, let's suppose I'm saying the only line it is written is my name is XYZ. I wouldn't even able to like remember that I am reading this line. Like maybe in
Right.
10 seconds I wouldn't know I read this line.
Right.
And I would have to go through it again and then again. This is like a cycle. Like
Right.
so,
So,
it,
I understand.
in example,
So to answer to your first part of the question, if you have a mentor and if you really trust your mentor, share everything with that mentor. Because unless you trust that mentor, there is no point in having a mentor then. You make someone a mentor in your life, it means you want to trust that person completely, like wholeheartedly. And that's why you have made that person as a mentor in your life. Otherwise, there is no point of having a mentor. Live your own life happily. Don't discuss anything, any problems with anybody. But that's not how you will grow in life. You will grow just by catching hold of somebody who is above you, who can pull you up, right? And that's what mentors do. Unless you are honest with that mentor. See, any relationship in this world starts with honesty. Any relationship, it's a tried and tested formula. It starts with honesty and it's maintained by your respect, mutual respect for each other. But first, honesty is needed in any relationship. So you have to be honest with your mentor. Share everything, whatever you can. Some things you may have to let go also. Like, may not have to share, but let go. I mean, because those may be not a bigger problem. As I mentioned, one-off things are not bigger. I mean, we shouldn't make it a bigger. Like, making small things bigger, those are one-off things, right? And I think second part was not able to focus, right? Meditate on the sadhana. That's okay. Keep doing it. And that's what Prabhupada said. Even if you don't pay attention to your 16 rounds, it's okay. Do it. Do it religiously every day. Because when you do it, eventually start seeing a transformation. Because see, आप हर चीज़ मन की करोगे, so you'll go nowhere. Because man is like untamed horse. It will take you anywhere, right? So I think there is this phrase also. If अगर मन की हो तो अच्छा, मन की ना हो तो और भी अच्छा, right? Because every time if you listen to your mind, it will take you anywhere. It will make you run like circus.
This is, I've heard something about it. I am not the slave. Mind is my slave. I am the master.
So mind makes you slave actually,
Yeah.
right? And through your intelligence, we have to control our mind. What happens is most of the time, we don't allow our intelligence. We let intelligence take back seat, and then mind takes control of our life. And that's when we do what we do. We go haywire. We are troubled by even smallest of things that are happening in our life. Did I answer you now, Prabhu?
Thank you.
Anything else? Yes, Prabhu.
Something that Mahabhavat Prabhu told me is sometimes we want to discuss say I have a problem with some devotee or someone, then it's okay to discuss with another person, but the ultimate goal should be to move on from discussing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what even Krishna is saying, right? These problems will come and go in your life. If you just hold on to it, it will affect you emotionally. So that's why Krishna is saying, tolerate, titikshava. Because this will come and go. Because if you see, when Krishna said, you have to control your mind. Arjuna said, controlling your mind is difficult. It is easier for me to control the wind than to control my mind. You know what Krishna says? Does anyone remember the response to that?
By practice.
So, what was Krishna's answer to Arjuna's this question? Like, it is difficult to control my mind than to control the wind.
Yeah, by practice.
And two things he mentions.
Practice and detachment.
Right, to practice and detachment. So that's what it is, Prabhu. Even answer to your question, practice and detachment. So practice it, like practice means daily, doing our daily routine, daily sadhana, no matter what, no matter what's happening in our life, because this thing will keep happening. Someday you will pass, someday you will fail in life, and that's okay. But our sadhana shouldn't stop. It will keep on happening, even if you are not focused on it, that's okay. And detachment means avoiding those things which are unfavorable to our sadhana. Like for example, some people who are so upset in their life, they start drinking alcohol. So that is what detachment means here. Avoiding such things which you think can help you overcome your, your mental propensity, your emotional turmoil. But that's not gonna affect you. I mean, that's not gonna help you. It's gonna affect you severely. And that's why Krishna is saying by practice and detachment. Detachment from unfavorable things. And by practicing your daily sadhana. So yeah. Any other questions? So we'll continue. Your turn, Mataji. Yeah.
Jnana Sangha refers to associating with persons not interested in Krishna consciousness. One should strictly avoid such association. Srila Narottama Das Thakur has therefore advised us to live only in the association of Krishna conscious devotees. Bhakta Samivasa. One should always engage in the service of the Lord and the association of the Lord's devotees. Association with those engaged in a similar line of business is very conducive to advancement in that business. Consequently, materialistic persons form various associations and clubs to enhance their endeavors. For example, in the business world, we find such institutions as the Stock Exchange and Chamber of Commerce. Similarly, we have established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness to give people an opportunity to associate with those who are not for God and Krishna. This spiritual association offered by our ISKCON movement is increasing day by day. Many people from different parts of the world are joining this society to awaken their dormant Krishna consciousness.
We can pause there. Any question on this paragraph, Janasangas? Any thoughts, any comments on this? Yes, Prabhu.
It is written that we should not associate with non-devotees here, right?
Right.
So it is not possible to always associate
Right.
with devotees.
It's not practical always.
Yeah.
Right.
We have to go to our work, our school.
True. True.
So what I heard from devotees is that it's important that to know that if you are taking association or giving association.
Right.
When you are with devotees, you should take association. When you are outside, you should give association.
Should give association. Right. Right. Because association itself means that you are actually either you are learning from that person or you are giving something to that person in return. That is what association. And when we are with outsiders, we should not take association. And if you see, there are three kinds of people which Prabhupada mentions, that one is bhuktikami, one is muktikami, and third is siddhikami. So bhuktikami is somebody who is only interested in material enjoyment, who is only interested in increasing his material wealth, material prosperity, and nothing else. He is not interested in anything. Muktikami is somebody who is looking for liberation, mukti. Now that person is actually running away from material problems, and that's why he's looking for mukti. Because sab chhod chhad ke, I just want to go and live in mountains or do my meditation in a secluded place. That's muktikami. Because they are running away from their problems in life. Now third is siddhikami. Siddhikamis are like controllers in this world. They want to acquire some powers. They want to acquire some siddhis so that they can rule over this world. And that's why if you see siddhikamis are like controllers, proprietorship mindset, controlling mindset. Muktikamis, they are more of enjoyment mindset, that I can't face any problems in my life, I can't face any troubles, let me run away. I'm just looking for enjoyment in my life. And same thing is bhuktikami. Bhuktikami, no matter what problems come, I just want to enjoy. I don't want to run away like muktikami. So that's the difference. Yeah. So did I answer your...
Yeah, it was not a question exactly, but
okay.
Yeah, it was
Sure.
just a reflection.
Sure. And anything, any other reflection? Yes, Prabhu.
So back in September, there was a devotee who did a class, and he was saying how all of Lord Krishna's devotees what they want most is the association of other like-minded devotees. And so it just reminded me of this, that we should always try to seek out the association of other like-minded devotees.
Right.
So that we can,
Right. You know, I've seen devotees, they try to, I mean, there are devotees who have in the past worked in, in difficult industries like IT, in alcohol, in food industry, which are not favorable for devotional service because IT, because IT, yeah, because again, this I'm sharing from my experience, because IT makes you work too much. Like when you're in IT, you have to slog too much. There is no limit on your hours. You cannot only work for 8 hours. You have to work for 16 hours maybe, 12 hours or 18 hours every day.
Even after that, you have to work for
Right?
yourself to learn.
Anytime. And then you're coordinating with multiple teams geographically, like people from India, people from US, people from Australia. So multiple time zones you're operating. So that's why IT, food industry. So what I've seen devotees have done is they have actually reduced, they have changed their occupation. I know some other devotees who have moved from food industry to, different industry, just to have a favorable occupation, living in Canada. And there is one devotee I know who was in IT, and he left IT industry. He was earning really well in IT in US. He left that and he started teaching, because teaching, he knows that he can limit his time. He knows how much he has to give time to it, and then he's earning decent amount. It's not like as good as what he was earning previously, but he's happy and satisfied because now he is able to focus on his sadhana well. He is able to give time to devotees, able to associate more with devotees, able to attend temple programs on a regular basis. So that's what it is. Rejecting things which are unfavorable and accepting things which are favorable for devotion service. And this will also help us in our association with devotees. Because when we do these things, we actually associate more with devotees, when we are accepting only favorable things. Any other? Yes, Prabhu.
Isn't it running away then?
What?
As you mentioned.
It's not running away. It's like you are prioritizing your life, your things in life. You're just prioritizing your life. Simple. For example, if
I'm an IT guy.
I know, I could understand from your face reaction.
So, because choosing not to be what I work throughout, and even I'm in the same situation that you are mentioning. I am in right now, that situation.
It happens.
Even I have a thought about it that I want to leave this job. So
see, I would say.
Then I thought it's like running away, and then I want to give it a chance. Okay, let's try it, because I am falling back from my discipline. I'll call it a discipline. I have to do this much prayer, this much meditation. I have to go to temple,
Right.
pray over there, do some my
I
religious
understand.
routine.
I understand.
And then when my mind is so much occupied by those stuff, because there are times, mostly there are times.
Right.
Mostly, it's not
Right.
just few times
Right.
that we don't know what we are doing. There are situations that we don't know what is going to happen next, and then
Right.
that thing comes into your bucket. Okay,
Right.
you're already preoccupied with your learning, and then again a new learning falls on you.
It happens.
And then something again, then you are your bucket was already here, and then there is another bucket on you. Now you are fully loaded. You can't do anything.
I understand.
So
Now you have to introspect actually about your life. Think, what's your nature? If your nature is to work hard, if your nature is to be, to work and not retire early, and do other things, then maybe leaving IT job may not be a good decision for you, a good choice for you. If your nature is to just work and work and work. Because I know some devotees who, I know one devotee who's a CEO of an IT company. It's a growing IT company. And he is very senior devotee. He does his sadhana in the morning. He completes it round in the morning. Till evening. I think sometime late nights also he works. But that's okay, because his intention is that through my job, I'm doing this job because I want to fund temple projects. That is his intention. And besides that also, on weekends he is able to do other sevas. So again, everybody has a different capacity.
Yeah, this is
Right.
the same thing I have it.
Right? Everybody has a different capacity. If you think there is no other thing that you can do in life besides IT, then maybe don't change IT job. Be in it, but try to change your your perspective. Try to work for Krishna. Try to fund, support monetarily to temple projects, because that is what you can do, right? Because sometimes I've seen that devotees feel guilty that I'm doing so much of outside work, but I'm not able to contribute to my sadhana or do any seva inside the temple. But this is one way that how you can contribute, right? Again, we cannot give a general answer to everybody. Every person will have a customized answer, right? As per the needs of the person, as per the personality of that person, and that's why it's important to have a mentor in life who can actually help you understand where you are. Because if you see, initially in the past Vedic times, there were Brahmanas who were like, where students were learning in Gurukul. They had a teacher who knew their Swadharma, who knew how the personality were, how their students' personality were, and according to that, they were prescribing them occupational duties. They were suggesting them, okay, what can be done, what you can do, right? So that's what it is, and that's why having a mentor is really important, because a mentor can actually guide you well, can give you a very customized answer for your question. I can give you a general answer considering the audience that we have, but a mentor can only give you a very customized, personalized answer.
Mentor means guru?
No, it doesn't have to be guru. It can be anybody who is a senior, whom you have accepted as a mentor. Somebody who has spent good amount of time in Krishna consciousness, whom you look up to as a person that I want to be like this person, right? Because when you make someone as a mentor, you naturally respect that person. And when you respect that person, you will listen to that person out of respect. Because you need a mentor so that you listen to him. It's like you have made a mentor because it's a formality, and then you don't listen to that mentor at all. Then there is no point keeping a mentor. Right? Any other points? I think we have reached our time. Yes, Mataji.
So, this thing was being discussed with other devotees before, that when you come to the temple, association is, we need to have association of other devotees, but we also need to be really careful of what kind of devotees we're associating with.
Right.
So, because everybody is at a different level, right?
Yes.
And just because they're coming to the temple doesn't mean that
True.
you should start associating with them. So how should we figure out who to associate with them?
See, this will come to know over a period of time, just by observing the devotee whom you are associating with. If you feel that you're not progressing in your sadhana, just because your association and the devotee that you're associating with is still at your level, or maybe lesser than your level, then maybe that devotee can be your friend or can be somebody whom you guide, right? But always look for association of somebody who is senior to you. And this applies to any area of life. Even in business also, you have seen people who are running small business, they will like to associate with somebody who's running a big business, right? Because they want to come to that level, right? So even in devotees also, look for devotees who are much more senior, not in terms of years of experience, but in terms of their sadhana, their genuinity in bhakti. And associate with those devotees. Take their association, not give them association, because you cannot give them your association. But give association to somebody who's at your level. Like make friends with them. And that's what Rupa Goswami will come to in the, I think, third or fourth text, that when you are with peers, you actually exchange gifts with them, receive gifts from them, talk to them confidentially, share, listen to them confidently. That's what you do with peers. People who are your subordinates, like juniors to you, give your association to them. Right? Okay. Thank you so much. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhaivacha